Well, I don't want to cut short any of the content you guys all have to share, so we'll get started here on time, and people might filter in or will filter in as we go. So I'll try to repeat the admin stuff on the chat for everyone. But welcome. This is the Tech Against COVID session. I'm Andrew Klein, a volunteer with Fight Pandemics, and here we have a panel specifically on Tech Against COVID. Starting here with Peter Fretty. He's a technology editor at Industry Week. Peter draws on 26 years of experience covering innovation and technology applications across a wide range of industries. Peter will give a more complete introduction as we start the panel. Next, we have Gideon Nweze, who's a co-founder and CEO at Village.io. Village is on a mission to connect global citizens together and give them the tools they need to own the communities they live in. And thirdly, here we have Triin Uustalu, the Chief Marketing Officer at Freddy. So without further ado, I'll pass it to Peter to start with the introductions and how his world of tech is in this time of COVID. Take it away.
Great, thank you. Yeah, as you mentioned, technology editor at Industry Week. Primarily my focus is on manufacturing. So this has been an interesting time where we've seen a lot of manufacturers, shutter all of their operations and then open back up with various technologies allowing them to open back up. So interested to hear what everybody has to say. Gideon?
Now, Gideon. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Hi everyone. I'm Gideon. I'm very excited to be here to talk with everyone here. I'm the co-founder of Village. So essentially, it's a company where we are actually looking forward to seeing what the world will look like, especially after COVID. Right? How do we essentially create microeconomies that support people? And that's, I think, something I'll be talking more about here today. It's like, how can we really using technology to actually build microeconomies that help recover from inflation that will happen after COVID, right? And then I am also the chairperson of World Blockchain Hackathon, where we host blockchain hackathons once a year. It's more like a show, and then we find very good companies, and then we help them get into accelerators and raise $100,000 pre-seed money before they get into the accelerator, and they can go ahead and raise more money and become successful companies. Yeah, so that's it.
Okay, and I'm last. So I'm Triin Uustalu, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Verif. Verif is a technology company, which we say is like building infrastructure of trust. What it actually means is that we provide identity verification services on digital channels. And when it becomes like even more humane way to say what we're doing is that we make sure that in online world, that if I say I'm Triin Uustalu, you can trust that I am Triin Uustalu. And if you say you're Peter, then you are Peter Fretty. Our experience is like yes, it has been a long process anyway to turn life into more digital. We consume a lot of information already online. We do business online, even though only 3% of all the world economy is done in online at this point, but it is shifting quickly. So the idea behind it, like who you can trust and who is actually who, because we all know how much there is trolling, how much there are fake news, how much there is identity scams behind everything. So this is our space to make sure that things can operate in digital world the same way they have been operating for thousands of years in the real world.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you all. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, have you seen a uptick in that as more people have been working from home?
To be honest, like it's a wave thing. In the beginning, in March, when the first lockdowns happened, then I think everything shut down. Like everybody was scared about their lives and how was this happening. There was a massive redundancies happening. So at that point, no, people were not opening bank accounts or doing anything online at that point. No, everybody's shuttering down. But I think this pandemic and our Verif experience has shown the human resilience behind it all. like countries are on second wave, the third wave, some even on the fourth wave. But we are now realized that this is like we need to keep going, and the businesses need to keep going, the education needs to be going. So now about from the summer, we are starting to see uptick. Exactly, things are moving quickly. Something which we expected to see in 2-3 years of time is already happening now, because exactly the pressure is on, and people want to resume as much of normality as possible and still do things. So yes, things are finally like moving into right, and I'm very happy about it, because it shows like us as humans, we can take it all in the end and still keep going.
Exactly. Andrew, do you have a question? I think I interrupted you.
No, not at all. Please feel free to freely exchange your questions with each other. I'm just here if there is a pause in the action. So if there's any follow up on that, please take it away. Otherwise, I got some questions ready.
All right. I think the verification component is actually quite interesting when you look at in manufacturing right now. Everything is the remote access. We're seeing the increase in wearables, where people are trying to connect with subject matter experts that are maybe working from home while they're working on the plant floor. So it should be interesting to see how some of that technology integrates into those spaces as well.
Yeah, definitely, because I think like this verification is something which was previously not considered. For example, like remote onboarding. Before you got a new job, you walk to the HR or people operations, they made a Xerox of your documents and that's it. Now still, even though economy is not doing that well maybe, but still new positions need to be filled. So you still need to onboard people into your company. How you do it? You find new ways, which is like verifications, for example.
Verifications, you mean verifications of certificates or documents or what specifically?
In my case, I can talk about the verifications of humans, like you are who you claim to be through your document, which is your identity card or passport in this case.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, have you guys looked into like using distributed ledger technology, essentially blockchain, right, to see how people can actually, because one of our portfolio companies, essentially they are doing certification and they are currently doing a pilot program with the police, with the Spanish police, right? And so it's like they're trying to find a way to put people's ID on blockchain, or especially for doctors and nurses, right? So that when you call a nurse and the nurse comes to you, you can actually know that, hey, this person is who they claim to be, and then it's kind of verifiable, and then it's always right, it's something you can change.
Yes, basically the same thing, maybe like a little bit different technology, not blockchain, but yes, definitely the same thing. And again, the medical system is another one, because we try to stay away as far as possible from our GP offices. But still, sometimes we need help. So from the data protection side, you just can't talk about everything about human health if you don't know who is actually on the other side of the phone.
Oh, interesting.
So Gideon, how do you... Oh, go ahead.
No. I wanted to agree that it is like horrible time, but same time exciting times, because always the pressure creates new opportunities, especially in the tech world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as we've all been forced into these remote type environments, we've all become far more comfortable with technologies. There's so much more that we can do with all these remote technologies that most of us never even realized were possible. Gideon, I wonder if you can touch a little bit more on the whole blockchain. How do you see that coming into play as the vaccine is released, and you see blockchain being a pivotal component in sort of protecting that cold chain?
Yeah, I actually think that with the whole COVID problem, I think the biggest winner with the whole COVID problem is actually the blockchain technology, right? Because I mean, the things, it's the whole principles of blockchain technology can be applied to kind of help improve trust, all right, and make sure that things are really, because the whole idea of blockchain is actually to bring trustlessness, where you don't have to trust anybody, right, and then increase utility. And so it's like, I think that although I know the governments will not apply blockchain for distribution, however, they might likely look into using, because when you take the vaccine, right, so you need a document, right, you need a certificate, right, say, hey, I took the vaccine, right, and so what the governments might actually explore might be like making sure that, hey, if you get your certificate, then it's stored on blockchain, right, and it's verifiable and no one can change it. And so that simply means that you can travel to different countries and it's your vaccine card is there. Now, what happens or what could happen is that every time you take one, then it gets updated, right? Because the vaccine will only last maybe for a year or so. I got COVID, so I think I can, yeah, I got COVID, yeah. And I had like 2 weeks to think about it and I recovered. And while I was sick, I had more time to think about like, hey, how can we actually use this technology to actually change and like improve the world and everything. And so it's like now I have COVID, I have maybe 5 months of immunity with my T cells, right? And so if essentially where I did my test, there is they recorded everything, right? So now I was positive, they know I'm now negative, and now they know that from now to 5 months, I have T cells. And so if this is already recorded in blockchain, then it makes more sense for people to know that, hey, after 5 months, I should get a notification to go get a vaccine, right? And then after 1 year, you should get that, right? Because I know that there are some companies, especially in Europe, they were saying that for international flights, you have to show your proof of vaccine. Now, how do we know that there is a proof of vaccine, right? It's essentially when we use this technology to build out, hey, people can actually do proof of vaccine. And so that's what we're also talking with our portfolio company, Certificado, that is putting documents on blockchain to see actually how they can focus into that area and get something done out of it.
Yeah, it makes sense. What do you see as maybe the challenge of actually getting that to be sort of the norm? I mean, what do you see as maybe some of the keys to it and then some of the obstacles?
I think the biggest one is really the politics, right? Because it's essentially the government that will decide. It's really the access, like getting good access to government, people that make decisions in government to say, hey, this makes sense. Let's use this solution, right? It's something that I think that's the biggest hurdle, right? Because it's the government that will decide. It's not even expensive to build. That's the interesting thing. It's pretty easy. I just described it in a very easy way, right? And so you have it, and then people start using it because people will feel more comfortable using this application, right? Because I just have to upload my own certificate myself, or maybe I go take a test and the government puts it on blockchain, and I can always see that it's there, right? And I can show it to my friends because again, another thing here is that my friend was like, hey, Gideon, let's hang out during Thanksgiving. I'm like, I don't know if I want to hang out during Thanksgiving. I know I'm negative, right? But I don't want to put any of my friends at risk in case if I'm still shedding the virus, right? So I needed to give myself extra 2 weeks again for me to be sure that I don't want to come hang out with my friends and kind of make things go the other way, right? And so if we all have this certificate, and I could just show my friends, right? It's on blockchain. They'd be like, oh, wow, okay, this is true. You're negative. You can get it. You can transmit it. Or you have the vaccine. You can get it. You can transmit it. And then people can actually have more confidence when they can hang out. And that will also help us open up communities, right? Or open up businesses. Because now in schools, everybody can come. I know that all the kids have their stuff. And I look at the kids, their parents have it too. I'm like, oh, cool. We're good. Let's have a good time.
Makes sense.
Because if we think of that, people who are the most vulnerable ones, then they suffer the most, not from the illness itself, but from the isolation. For example, I have elderly grandparents. I can't visit them. And the people who are in the nursing homes, people can't visit them, and it's hard emotionally too. So exactly like proving that I am safe to go there. Of course, you take extra precaution to be extra safe, but still that would help out, like not only economy, but it would help us out to start building those bonds around like people again, and that will help them like make the world like hopefully like a little bit more optimistic and positive place again.
Right. Yeah. Should be exciting to see how technology can sort of help eliminate some of that uncertainty that's really been, surrounding the entire COVID situation. I think pretty much any type of pandemic, there's always so much disinformation or misunderstanding, and I think technology has that opportunity to play a significant role.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. I really don't know. The question is how much fast can the government adopt like technology, right? Because the governments essentially they are slow. Governments are slow, and it's okay for governments to be slow. I mean, we can't force them to be fast, right? But it's how do we get governments to kind of really adopt the technology? I think that's the biggest hurdle here, because the technology is easy to build, right? And then getting trust. Trust is also another big thing. I really think that trust is a social factor, right? If people can get to start trusting because their friends trust it, then we end up winning, right? We won't have all these conspiracy theories. People who say that, you know, I've read a lot of them on the internet. I think all of us here, that's so funny, right? And so it's like, how do we like really go across all these conspiracy theories and create trust locally with people, right? Because if we do that, then that can also build up, and then the government has no choice.
Right, right. Yeah, it's interesting. In manufacturing, this has really sparked manufacturers to embrace technology in a way that, you know, digital transformation, everything in technology sort of running manufacturing spaces. Really, pandemic has been the sparking point. So.
But what has been the best like helper from the technology point of view in manufacturing? I understand the obstacles, like if you have to like socially distance everyone and all those things, but what has actually helped there?
As far as which technologies have played the biggest role, I'd say in the largest manufacturing environments, it's been the adoption of cobots. So being able to separate people by having a cobot in between them. So it's not the caged robot that a lot of people think of when they think of manufacturing environments. This is actually like a flexible arm that can do, you know, something that you quickly teach it. So it can sand, or it can weld, or it can do whatever operations without, you know, without all the programming time that usually takes in robotics. You know, and then obviously all the true pandemic centered technologies like the social distance monitors, some of the vision systems that can keep an eye on, you know, these two people here have been too close for too long. It's not that a person is watching, but the vision system can automatically see that, you know, you two have been near each other for too many minutes, and maybe it will make something that's on you start blinking red.
I actually have something around the vision system, right? I think the vision system is really great. However, I don't want any vision system tracking my movement. I don't want it. In fact, nobody wants it. It's like the big brother, and it's scary. Yeah, and that is, I think that is what is really driving the whole conspiracy theories, right? That the government wants to put a shield inside us and then track all our movement. Personally, if there is anything that's going to track my movement, I will not do it. In fact, I will not touch it because, again, I was in Clubhouse the other day. We're having a conversation about taxes, right? And so someone was saying that the government can actually track your phone, especially from California, right? They can track your phone, know where you are, so that the place you spend most time, you pay your taxes, right? And then people are now thinking of, what can I do to make sure that people can track my phone, etc. So like people have so many reasons why they don't want to be tracked, right? And so if we start doing vision system, we're just going to be like China, because they're tracking everybody, right? And nobody wants to be tracked. I don't know if you want to be tracked, Peter. What do you think?
No. I mean, I totally agree with you. I understand exactly what you're saying. The deployments I've actually seen, the vision systems actually take a good bit of that out because there's no person that is watching. So it's actually vision systems that are looking at data. So they may notice certain qualities of, you know, certain qualities of you, certain qualities of me, and the system itself will track that. And then it will alert us. It won't necessarily alert anybody else, but it would alert us that we've been close to each other for too long, if that makes sense. So it's sort of, I mean, I get the whole not wanting to be tracked, but in this situation, like even if say I'm the business owner and I want to pull it up and look at it, I can't actually see that it's you or that's me because we're completely blurred out. But the vision system knows who it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's the full thing of the trust thing of technology versus people versus government in that sense. I come from Estonia, which is like extremely digitally advanced country. We can do anything online. We can't only die and get divorced online. Honestly, we can do anything online. And they were like, if I talk like, for example, like Western Europeans, like they have such a distrust, like how you let government know everything about you on online. And I think the key is like, you know exactly what is done with it.
Yeah.
Like I can check up from database, like I have access to do X-Road and see what is done with my who has checked out my profile, so to speak, like what kind of things I have accessed myself digitally. So there's like a log. I think the same thing is like exactly like Gideon didn't know what would happen with this visual thing, and that is scary. But if you work there and you know, it's like nobody's looking at it, nobody's giving a check, nobody's controlling how long you're actually working or not working. It's just the proximity things, like AI is just checking it. Then it's like clear, okay, black box is unraveled, and then it's better. And the same is with this. It's easier the more we know about it. Like everything, like exactly, like unknown is the most horrible thing for human.
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right on that. And also, I actually think that on the same question we're talking about, right, on the technology, the vision systems. The one thing is that, does anyone have access to the vision systems, right? Will someone be able to go into the vision systems and say, maybe, because when you build products, right? This one that I've seen, you build a product, you have a good way to use it, then maybe in a year, someone comes up with a terrible way to use the product, right? This happens all the time with technology. So what I'm trying to say here is someone can actually go, maybe there might be a crime that is very important, and then the government will now go, hey, maybe we can use the vision systems to go really track this person's movement. And once that happens it opens the Pandora box. And now anyone can use it to do anything, especially if, because that's what it's likely going to be. So, however, there is this new technology called homomorphic encryptions. So homomorphic encryptions is like where you have this black box, you can put your hand inside, you can play around with stuff, but you never really know what is there. So essentially, if we can use that with vision systems, then it makes a lot of sense. Now, the question is, how do we explain that to people? Because, again, everything goes down to trust, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, if people really don't trust that, because we've had cases where the people are selling our data, right? Like the biggest companies are selling data, and it's really scary. You don't want people to be selling your data, and that is why I think blockchain technology is going to really change so many things in the future, right? Where your data is preserved, is yours. I'd rather sell my data myself and buy some cup of coffee than just have anyone look into it and use it to do anything. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that a lot of that comes down to, the ownership of the data. And I think a lot of that is, unfortunately, by country and how well you're able to own that data. The United States doesn't necessarily have the same ownership protections as, European countries.
Yes. And then I think this trust is very normal because we have had so many examples of things going wrong, even the China example, like where this good technology which you would open up is actually closing doors for people.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I actually have a question around the economy, right? Well, what do you guys think will happen with the economy and then the technology? Like, how can technology really affect the economy when it comes to, like, this current COVID, where we are now, and then post-COVID, where we will be maybe in 2 years when we'll be recovering? Because I think we'll start recovering from next year. Maybe we're already recovering. I don't know, but yeah. So, how do you think like technology can really play a role in the economy, right? And so, yeah.
I think that's a good question. I think it's going to be, I think trust is going to come into that whole situation. There's so much technology, especially in the manufacturing space, there's so much technology you can do remotely that could keep the economy going. But how does that impact the person? If you're maybe able to do more things with one person, how's that going to impact how many people are working?
Yeah, we are definitely will be in a transition time. Like economy, like always, like when there is slowdowns, then the new things will boom out of it. But it will take a while until we get like out of it. And part of it is also like to do like really good innovation, you need to have creativity. To do creativity, you need to be in a good space in action. I don't think like many of us are in good space for a long time. It takes us time like to recover like because the way we have used to like manage stress and handle relationship, everything is upside down in that sense. But it will be really interesting. Like I know, like the last 2008 when the economy had a shift, then a lot of like sharing economy started to boom because there were people who didn't have job, but for example they had a car, so it made sense to become like, for example, an Uber driver.
Right.
So new things will open up. And I think like this is a great lesson that I think a lot of people are realizing that this will be not most likely the first or the last one, the pandemic with our like very global world. So how we are moving there, like I think there will be a lot of great innovation. I'm a very optimistic person anyway, but the shift there will most likely be painful. It's not easy to change that much, and we know that when the true stress is over, then we will see the impact on mental health and how people are doing. So it takes time. But yes, I'm interested. Exactly like things which used to be very human-centric, for example, manufacturing or hospitality business or travel, like what happens with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that manufacturing is, we're going to lose so many jobs after COVID. Because again, as a business person, this is just logical, right? It's just logical. It's not being bad. It's not being good. Well, I don't believe in good or bad either, right? I just believe in efficiency. And if you look at like even with the COVID, less people were working. We needed less people to work so that we don't spread the virus. And then they have to like figure out how to introduce more robots to make many things that we do that people needed to do. And I really think that after COVID, there is no reasonable business person that will say, maybe people should come and still be doing manual works like in construction, right? Or in manufacturing that robots could do. Because one, robots will remove the risk of you having to pay higher insurances on the people that are working for you. So you save more money. And if robots can do it, they can do it like all day, all night. You save more money. And so businesses actually want to save money, reduce costs, and also increase their sales. And this is unfortunate, but many jobs are going to be lost, and more jobs will be lost because we've already got into this trend where everybody's really looking into automation and higher efficiency, right? Even the Macy's parade that happened in New York, normally they have people carrying the ropes and everything. It was robots. I'm like, what? Yeah, so I think many jobs are going to be lost. What are we going to do to help the people who are going to lose the jobs? So that now I think that is the very good question, right? Because if we don't help them, then we end up having a world where people are more dissatisfied because they're not part of the financial ecosystem. And I think it's already happening across the world. Like I think all the protests we see nothing has to do with politics. It's just because people feel that, hey, no one is listening to me, no one cares about me, I don't feel part of the conversation. And I think it's really painful. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, usually in manufacturing, when robotics enter the picture, there's usually fear that it is going to take away jobs, but reality is it usually brings more jobs because it enables people to actually work in other components within the business.
True.
So
yes, and until we haven't figured out like robots who build robots, we still have humans in there.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll be the paradox. Robots will build robots. Then what will humans do? Yeah, imagine a world where humans don't really have to work. And this is what I think about, right? What will we be doing? And how are we going to be getting money? Because essentially everybody needs some kind of money to live, right? So the future, when we finish fighting pandemics and then everything is perfect, then the world doesn't have to, you don't have to go to work. You can stay at home and watch your Netflix. Maybe a few people will be working. I think maybe 20% will be working because there are people that like working, right? Like us, and we like working. Most people would just want to chill. In California, you want to lie down and smoke your weed and go to the beach, and that's it, right? You don't really want to do anything, right? And so how are they going to be like getting something? So that is why, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but then maybe it is like introduce this citizen salary. I have heard many theories that it like if the economy is doing really well and we are becoming like more and more like productive in that sense, that there is a citizen economy. Like we get all paid from the taxes, right, from corporations in that sense. So there is money to actually sit on the beach. You don't spend that much there either.
So tax the people who work? That's not fair.
I think that's the perfect like utopian vision to end the panel on, is this idea of a future where maybe we don't have to work, tech is going to make everything perfect. we have hit our time. Thank you, all three of you. This is really fluid, interesting discussion. Peter, Gideon, Triin, really good. Appreciate the time. Thanks for everyone that joined. These are recorded if anybody wanted to listen back on anything. And thank you. We have 2 more sessions starting right now. Actually, one of them on economic trends. So I know that was part of the discussion, how the pandemic is affecting the economy. So that's a perfect lead into one of the 2 sessions coming up, that one and building community. So see everyone there. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.